Hello and welcome to Streamtabulous. So today we're going to create a LORA model of a face. In this case we're going to be using my face, or I'm going to be using my face. And before we do that we need to create a couple of folders. So we'll cut over to that and I will show you the folders that we're creating and give you an idea of how to create them to have Kohya SS generate our model. So I've come across and I've created a directory. It doesn't matter what you name it, and inside that directory you want to create three folders: image, log, model. Now these will remain empty, and when we create our LORA they will be filled up. This one here is the one that we want to create, and we want to create a folder inside the image folder, and then depending on the name of this, it will depend on how many images we put inside of it. The less images we have, the higher this number will be. The more images we have, the lower this number will be. But if we have a lot of images in here, we never want this to be anything less than 100. So I'll try to explain that the best I can. So I have put 11 pictures in here, and if you put your pictures in there, I'd recommend just hit rename, and then you can call it me or whatever you want to call it, and it'll rename them all and it will put the numbers on the end. That will make your life easier. So we have 11 pictures in here. So what we're going to do is I'll just come back across. Okay. So we have 11 pictures in there. So what we have is what we call the training steps. This is the best I understand it. So the way this folder is going to be named will be read by the Kohya SS, and depending on what that file's name is, we'll tell it how to read the images inside and how many steps to do to train to do the model. So we want, if I can find it here, here we go, it's a calculator. So it's 1500 steps, and we want to divide that by the number of the images, and that gives us 136. So I have 11 images, so I'm going to name the folder 136, and then I'm going to call it underscore, and then I'm going to call it the name of whatever I want the name of that model inside. So in my case, I'm going to call it Sunny. You could call it me or whatever you want. Now, if you had 20 images, you'd only have 75 steps. We don't want under 100. So you would name that folder, if you had 20 images, you would name it 100. And then you'd put underscore Sunny or me or whatever you want. So if you only had 2 pictures in there, it'd be 750 underscore. So that's the simple way of just remembering it, is it's 1500 divided the number of images, and if you had 10 images in there, then the folder's name would be 150 underscore me, Sony, your name, whatever you want. Okay, so that's how that basically works. So we'll just go back across and show that. So I have the 11 pictures, which gives me the number of 136. So it's going to be 136 steps that it's going to go through and do for the images. So that's the easiest way to describe that. Once you've created that, then we can go into Kohya SS. So then we can point it to those folders and we can run it from there nice and easily. So we'll come across now and we'll take a look at Kohya SS and we'll get you started on the way. And remember, in the description below, I'm going to have the link to the JSON folder, which is the settings, which you'll be able to open up, point it to, press open, point it to that JSON setting, and then just hit load, and that will save you the headache of trying to work out how each one of the settings use, which is really confusing. And the settings that I'm using, I have found generate the best results. You can play with it and see how you go, and if it breaks, just don't save over that file or re-download it and load it up. So also don't forget, of course, to like and subscribe and get the bell on. I could really do with a lot of likes at the moment. It really motivates me to do more. And yeah, a lot of stress at the moment. So I'd love to see some likes. Give me a little bit of encouragement. And we'll move across to the Kohya SS, and we'll get you guys under the way on how to make yourself a model. Okay, so let's go into our Kohya SS. So, remember what screen I'm on, we'll come over here. We're going to find that GUI bat, which we modified with the dash in browser. And we're going to double click that. Bring that over there. And she's going to launch. Now, we will, while that is launching, we're going to come into here. I have created a folder somewhere. Let me find that. Okay, so I've created this folder, and we'll just, there's our Kohya. It has loaded up. It does take a while to open up the first time, and every time you restart the computer, that first launch takes a little while. There's only a few things we want to use on here. So we've got the LORA, which we'll get into, and we've got the utilities, which is what we want to use. But what we want to do here is we want to come across. So I've created a folder, and inside that folder I've got images, log, and model. And these are empty, except for the images folder. Now, we talked about in the beginning of the video of how to get this number here is based on the amount of images that we have inside. So we've named the folder that number to represent the images that are inside, and then I've just put my name on the end there. And I've taken a bunch of photos of myself on various angles. You really want to try to get all angles, your left side, your right side, your ups, your downs, and so forth. And try to get just as much as you can in there. Now, I find I've used 11 for this one. Now, I do find, and this is my personal preference or personal observation, is these are my close-up images. If you want to do a AI art and have it further back, say full portrait, then do 11 photos of you as a full portrait standing in various positions with your head up, down, left, right, and so forth. And the AI seems to go through and pick one that it wants to use based on its scrapings to put together these images. Okay, so we've put those in there. Now we want to come down to utilities. So when you open it up, it'll be on Dream Booth. We come across to utilities, and we want the WD14 captioning. And we're going to select our file directory. So we'll click that. Now it's already come across to it, so there it is there. So we'll click that, and we'll go select. So there's our folder directory. Add a prefix. So we're going to put our name in there for this part. Okay. That's all we're going to do. And we're going to hit caption images. Now when we do that, we won't know anything's actually happening. And if we go to our command line interface that runs in the background, that will let us know what's happening. So we'll let that run. And when it finishes, it will tell us that it's finished. So we'll let that go. That's going to scrape the images, and it's going to create text files for the images, and that will be our prompt data for the AI art generator. Okay, there we go. It's scraping. Now, with the wrong version of Python, this doesn't work. And that was one of the bugs that I noticed. Like it was working, but it wasn't working the way it should. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? So I did the old version of Python, the 3.10.6, and I did a new git pull, and I reset it up because it wouldn't set up under the old version because it had put files in there based on the newer version of Python, which basically broke the entire of Kohya SS. There's a tongue twister so fast. So after putting in the new Python and deleting the Kohya SS folder and then using git pull to recreate that folder and then running the setup again, everything went smoothly without a hitch. And as we can see, it's working the way it should. So it's going through, and it's basically it's using AI itself to read the images, and it's going to read those images and try to work me out. So a lot of people use, I think it's Git captioning or blip captioning or something like that, and they have to write all that information in themselves. I find you don't have to do that. If you're using WD-14, it will do all that information for you. If you've got some good images, it will know how to do it. So we just let this run. So you can see here, it's gone through and it's downloaded some stuff. That's what this is here. It's downloaded a bunch of tools. And it's found my 11 images. And now it's going to use those tools to create the data. And here it is here. It's actually finished it. So we can copy this. We can just go from... I'll pull it from... I'll stretch that down if I can. There we go. And I'll just take it from there. We'll copy that. Control C. Done. Okay. And I'm just going to come into here. I'll go back. Just going to create a text pad there. And we'll call that prompt. I think that's spelled right. I have no idea. We're going to paste that in there. And that's our prompt data. Okay. Then we'll come back across into here. And we'll come in here and we'll see these little text things now. And it's actually read it. And it says, I'm looking at the viewer. So this is the prompt information. If you want to type something in to try to get a similar result to this, using the LORA you create, this is your prompt data. So the important part is Sony Solo. So when we're using our LORA, this is what we're going to be basically using. So we can see that there. It's picked me up. Green eyes, that's correct. Upper body, that's what it is. It's male focusing on the camera, that's it. Glasses, good job. So grey background, pretty correct. That's what that colour of the wall is. It's a horrible grey that I need to paint. Facial hair, certainly do. Beard, it's odd, a lot of people call goatees beard, but then again, you know, what is a goatee this day and age? There's so many different varieties of them. Realistic, mustache, don't know if I'd call it a mustache, facial hair, yeah. So, and it's gone through and it's done that for all of them, so it's scraped it. We don't have to type anything in. We are good. I'm happy with that. Okay. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a low GTX graphics card setting. So I'll put that up in the link below so you can download that, and then you can just open it up and then you can just load it, and that will put in all these settings that we're seeing here, which I believe are the best parameters for a low graphics card to actually run. And this is important, the optimizer, I believe this one here is the one that uses the least amount of RAM on a graphics card. From what I have heard on the YouTube videos. There are articles that you can read. Neurological dyslexia doesn't really help with that, so it just gets muddled. My brain gets really muddled up. So if we come across to the model, this model will be, depending on which one you select, will be the way it builds your LORA. That will affect what you can actually use the LORA with when you're using easy diffusion or stable diffusion. So if I'm building it on 1.5, so I'll only be able to use this LORA on models which are based on 1.5. If I want to use this LORA with a 2.1 or a 2, I'll need to create another LORA based on those, clicking that. Okay, so we'll leave that. So we've told it the directories, you'll have to point it to your directories, which we've talked about. So you need to put your output name there, so you give it the name that you want. This LORA I want to be called Sunny, so as that. We have our parameters in. As I said, I will put the settings up. I don't understand a lot of this. It's to go through and try to talk about it is just going to confuse a lot of people. Keep your resolution low here. Just leave it as this is what I would say, and not play with it too much. FP16 is for the lower end of graphics cards. Even on the 3060 that I have that set up on FP16. So these are saved, and we will go through. We'll click Start Training, and then we'll wait. And hopefully we don't get an error. If you get an error, it's going to be one of those settings. Usually if you get an error, it means that there is not enough VRAM to actually do the model. So, okay, so it's going to download some stuff. It's got to download a whole bunch of files to work properly. That's going to take a while the first time. The next time you run it, unless there's an update, it won't take this long. But this is important to know. For the first time you run it, you're going to be getting these little downloads. And again, this one here, the not found, I have found that on the other system as well that I ran, that it wasn't found, and it didn't seem to make any issues. Made no difference. So, I don't know, perhaps that's just been removed from the server and not changed in the way this runs. I'm not entirely sure. Magic of the program. Like I said, it's command line interface is a little bit different. Maybe some people will understand it. For me, it's a little bit over my head, I'm afraid. So you can see it's downloading models there as well. It says down there the PY torch model. So, and some of these aren't small. And yeah. So let's have a look how we go. It's just a waiting game. Okay. It's going to try to generate the model. That's going to take 3 hours to do it. So we'll have to come back when it's finished. Kind of expected that it would take a while because this graphics card is a lot older. Now, we'll just have to let that run for the 2 hours and then we'll see where it's at. So we'll cut the video and hopefully we don't get any errors this time. It was on a different setting prior and it ran faster, but it errored out at the end. It had memory issues. So hopefully this one doesn't run into those issues. So we'll let it run for the 2 hours. And we'll see where it's at. I think that's the big thing that you have to be aware of when you're creating one of these models. It's pretty intense. It's not so cut and dry as it's really quick to generate. It's not. The AI has to rebuild the images that you're feeding it to create models and work out how to use those models as AI code for the algorithm. So it's time consuming. So we'll let that run and we'll see what, we'll see what happens at the end of it and we'll get back to it. Okay, now that was a long process. Now we can see over here that it's gone through and it has, well, it's finished. Now, how do we know that it's finished? Because if we look down here, it says saving checkpoint. And this word here, the safe tenses. Safe tenses is the name of the model folder. If we come in and we go up to the top here and we come across to the models, we'll actually see that name there. That's what we've selected and that's what we want it to be called, because that's what's compatible and universal with Easy Diffusion and Stable Diffusion. So these are all the working parameters that I've saved, and I will put them up below. Because I was doing the recording with OBS, the 3 hours that it came up with was inaccurate. It was because I was using a lot of resources. So once I closed all that off, it dropped down to about an hour and a half. Still a long time, not quite 3 hours. So I stepped away and I did some stuff for 2 hours and came back, and it's finished. So again, now we'll know it's completely finished because when we go into where we created our folders, we can ignore the log folders. It's the model folders that we're interested in. We should come in there and we should actually see that file created. There it is there at 144 megabyte. So we can now take that and put it into Easy Diffusion and we can use it. So yeah, we'll go across and we'll take a look at that and we'll see if we can use my face in a model. So let's do that. Okay, before we go across and drop that LORA in, we have saved all this, so we'll just hit save again, so we've got our settings there. Now to close it, you just simply cross that off, and you're also going to have to close this because it's still running in the background, believe it or not. So now it is closed. Now we can go across and we can move that into where we need to. So we'll do that in one moment. I'll show you how. Okay, so now our model's created. Where we created the 3 folders, the image, log, and model, we go into the model folder, and we can take this file here. It should be the largest one created. This one's 147 megabyte. And this is the Sunny Safe Tensor, and that is the LORA that we have created. So we're going to copy that. So just simply right click, copy. We're going to come across into our Easy Diffusion folder, and we're going to go into models, and then we're going to go into LORA, and we're just going to paste that in there. And now that is in there, we'll be able to use that in Easy Diffusion or Stable Diffusion. So now we can come back and we can click on Start Stable Diffusion UI, and then we can get on to using our LORA to create our image. So I'll now show you how that's done. So we've clicked on Start Stable Diffusion UI, and of course the first time it runs it does always do its little upgrade, so we'll let that go for a moment, and once it launches it will open up in its in the web browser. So we'll give that a moment, and then we can create our model. So doing a little bit of an update. Once it loads up, we will have to turn on some beta options or beta options. So I think mine I've already enabled them. So I'll show you where they are once she loads up, and you'll be able to enable them in yours as well, and that will enable you to be able to use the LORA. Now I love Easy Diffusion because the LORAs are so easy to use. You just have to select them and give it the value to actually use, where if it's in Stable Diffusion you need to use kind of like a command line code, so you use where you have the brackets, and then you'll type in say, you know, the sunny, and I think it's like a dot, and then the percentage, you put the number in there. It's far more confusing, so this one works a lot better. So give it a moment. Okay, so now it's loaded up. If we come across to settings here, we'll come down. By default, these two will be off on yours. So the beta channel is off on this one anyway, so we want to turn those on. We want to hit save. And yeah, unfortunately, the refresh really doesn't work with it. You have to close it off, and then you'll need to run that command line again. And it's done its update this time, so this should be a faster launch to the graphic user interface. Although it normally does update, it's, you know, adds those beta to it, so that may take a moment. So we don't want this, so we're going to get rid of that. And I'm just going to load this from a text file, so one moment. Okay, so I've added the prompts here for what I want. Now we want to come down and we want to set it up for how to actually do the image. So I'm going to change the model here quickly. I'm going to use Epic Realism. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with the sampler. All the samplers and the EVs will change the way your art actually looks. So I might try an EV on this one. We'll see what it looks like. Guidance scale. Might want to crank that back. And this is already on our, normally it's on none. But if we click that, we can click on our LORA that we've created. That's it there. This is the strength. It's kind of weird because, I mean, we can come through here and we can go well above 100%. Doing that, your image will be an absolute mess. Your highest value is 1, which is 100%. And if we go down to 0.5, it's 50%. That's how much of your model is being used on the image that it's creating. So the parts of the face that it creates, the higher this value here, the more of those features. I find, I mean, you can put it up on 1. I find the 80% mark gets a really nice render. We've got to watch this guidance scale. You can have that too high. We'll try to run it on 8 first, and we'll see where it is. If you put it on 50, your image will be an absolute mess and nothing like what you want. Even 30, I find it's an absolute mess as well. So you need to find the balance there. We're going to give it a lot of steps. We're going to keep it on random seeds. The first time this runs is usually rather slow. Because it's doing the CUDA drivers and talking, and we can see it's generating our image there, and we'll have a look. We'll see what we get for my face. But that's how you use your LORA. You create it and you just drop it into Easy Diffusion, and it's just as simple as that. And then you just define the prompt up the top there, and the more information you've got in the prompt, you can change what you actually want for it. And we can tell it to generate an older person if we want to, or you know, you can change those details in there. We can put in, you know, heavy facial hair. You can put aged. You can write an age in there if you want. And yeah, the more information that you feed into it, the better the result. I'm not sure if it is still character limited. It used to only accept 70 characters. And the way the AI works is the order that you actually have on the prompts is what it looks at first and concentrates on. So you want your target information to be the first, and as you go down, you want the stuff that's not concentrated on to be the last. So for me, the high quality eyes, I like the high quality eyes, but it's not as important as having it as me as a superhero flying. So yeah, there we go. This one's generating a bit of a younger looking character. That's actually, the model here is doing a lot of that younger. I usually use a different model to get my more aged look on my face. But yeah, that's how it works. Go through and I might just change that model over for a second. I'm going to use the Realistic Vision version 5.1. I'm going to leave everything else as it is, and then we're going to re-render these. And yeah, I find the other model that I was using does have a habit of rendering younger looking people. The Realistic Vision, I find, does a better job of getting the the more aged look and the more details on my LORA. So that's something to keep in mind when you're creating your images, that each one of the models that you load does affect your LORA. So you'll need to play with it and find out which one is the best to work with the LORA that you're actually doing. Because remember I said when you're making your LORAs that if you're taking pictures of just your face, those ones are really only going to work really well for close-up images. So we can see here, this is a more close-up image, and despite the fact it's really not what I want, we can see more of the details for the facial and so forth. So yeah, that's it. That's how to use your LORA and go through and create create the image that you're looking for. So it's as simple as that. So we got some really good results in there, and you know, a bit of fine tuning and a bit of playing with your guidance scale and so forth. There, you'll get better looking images to what you're actually looking for. So, and it's just a matter of playing until you generate that image that you're looking for. This one is not really on how to generate the image. That is really time consuming. There's a lot of little adjustments. Then you're going to sit there for a while and play with it to actually work out what you want to do. This is just how to create a LORA of your face and get your image into your artwork of what you actually want, whether it is a family friend or a loved one, or maybe it's your favorite TV celebrity, and you've gone on to Google Images and taken some shots and creating a model of them. But remember that if you're taking photos and it's just basically the face, they're going to be close-ups. And then if you're taking photos where it is head to toe, then that is more full-bodied. So you could create a LORA like the one I've created and call it, for example, me close-up, and then you could create another one with 11 images of head to toe, and you could put me full body, and you could create another one of waist up and put me waist up, and then select those LORAs. Some people will create the LORA with all of it in the one image. I find that does create more confusion to the AI, which can cause some issues. So I find having separate LORAs and then selecting the one and applying it to your artistic preference usually generates a better image. So, but that's it. That's how to create a LORA and how to use it in Easy Diffusion. And as you can see here, we're getting great results. And that's what we're after. With the SDXL, the Stable Diffusion Extra Large models, unfortunately this LORA isn't compatible with it. You'd have to load up a SDXL model, and I think I mentioned before, I've tried that, and it was 1% per hour, so 100% would see me 100 hours, and that's not, you know, including that if the system slows down, and given the fact that they usually take a bit longer to do. So that's something to keep in mind. The SDXLs will create far, far better skin tones and more realistic looking people. But I find that these are quite fine, and I'll just go through and edit them in something like Photoshop or PaintShop Pro and add the skin textures to it and get it the way I want. So that's it. And so there it is. That's Kohya SS and how to create a model, a LORA, of your face, and how to use that in Easy Diffusion. And hopefully you found the video helpful, and if you did, smash the like button. Not getting a lot of likes on the videos. I'd really appreciate to see some likes. It really motivates me to keep going. I know with the issues that I have, and you know, the autism and my brain's all over the place, that I do repeat things. Of course, like I said, just feel free to fast forward if you need to and skip things. But I like to try to show that front end that other people don't, so you can see the little hiccups along the way, and you know that it's not as straightforward and as quick as what a lot of YouTubers are showing. That it is more involved. So again, if you could like, subscribe, get the bell on. Especially if you find the video helpful, leave a comment below. And yeah, I mean, hopefully I see some of your artwork out there, and maybe you want to join my Facebook group and post a picture that you might have generated creating a LORA model and using easy diffusion, and show us what you come up with, and we can discuss that in the Facebook group and help each other out to better our artistic skills. I do see this LORA training to create a face model as something that can be used in photo restorations, because if you get enough pictures of someone's face that they've got, then you can recreate images, and I think that's a great thing, and it can be used to do all sorts of things. And at the moment, yeah, it is a little bit artificial looking, but with Paint Shop Pro you can go through and adjust that and clean it up and add those skin textures to it and more facial hair and add some age to it and get a better looking image. But as I said, the SDXLs have come a long way. Hopefully maybe something like Kohya SS improves to where, you know, on an old machine like this we can create the LORAs faster. So yeah, but that's it from front to end, and I really hope this video helped you guys out, and of course I will see you in the next Streamtabulous video. Thank you for watching my video and sticking around to the end. If you like my videos, it'd really help me out if you could like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm to push my videos out there to more viewers, which in turn helps me and helps everyone. So thank you for watching my video and hanging around to the end, and I will see you in the next video.